To the details now, the 4-day-long Republican convention opened in Milwaukee on Monday. The Republican Party formally nominated former President Donald Trump as the GOP standard-bearer for the November 5th general election on the day one. GOP delegates crowned Trump as the presidential nominee for a third time in a roll call vote as the Republican Party convention kicked off its 4-day run in Milwaukee in the battleground state of Wisconsin. Monday's nomination procedure was a formality as Trump had already been the presumptive presidential nominee since March when his delegate haul reached 1,215, a majority of the total 2,429 delegates. And Donald Trump officially named Ohio Senator J.D. Vance as his running mate in the U.S. presidential election at the start of the party's national convention in Milwaukee. The news, first announced on Trump's Truth social media website, comes 2 days after Trump survived an assassination attempt in Pennsylvania campaign rally. Vance was named Trump's running mate after the former president secured a major legal victory when a federal judge dismissed one of Trump's criminal prosecutions. Vance was a one-time harsh critic, but later became one of Trump's most loyal supporters in Congress. Trump is due to formally accept the party's nomination in a primetime speech on Thursday and will challenge Democratic President Joe Biden in the 5th of November election.
That means we quiet.
And for more, we have Nick Harper joining us from there. Well, Nick, 2 days after an attempt on his life, Trump appeared at the convention greeted by an excited crowd with chants of fight. Reference to his words after surviving the rally shooting. What was the rhetoric like? And do you see Trump benefiting from the assassination bid there?
Yeah, this was quite an incredible moment. As you mentioned, just 2 days after surviving that assassination attempt, he made that glorious appearance at the Republican National Convention, a moment when the whole of the hall, the thousands of Republicans who were gathered there, went absolutely wild. We saw a standing ovation, a rapturous applause as Donald Trump slowly entered the room with his fist raised and walked towards the upper podium where he was greeted by his VIP guests. We didn't get a speech from Donald Trump this evening, but just appearing with that bandage on his right ear where the bullet struck really was a major moment for his campaign, but also for many people in the room. The television cameras picked up a number of people within the room in tears, clearly very emotional about that moment. We'd had speeches throughout the day, and once Donald Trump, they continued for some time after that, speeches whereby the speakers were speaking with gratitude that Donald Trump had survived that attempted assassination. And I think this really has helped to catapult his campaign, to give it new momentum. It seems quite incredible, but it has created this real feeling of unity in the party. We already knew that Donald Trump had huge support within the Republican ranks, but here we've seen them coalesce around him in a major way as a result of what happened in Pennsylvania at that rally on Saturday. It was a huge moment for Donald Trump. No words from him. He'll give his headline speech on Thursday, but just being there in the room, I think, electrified many of the crowd and probably Republican voters at home as well watching.
All right. Also, Nick, talking about his vice presidential running mate, Vance, a venture capitalist and the author, has adopted Trump's populist agenda after years of pointed criticism of Never Trump movement. Do you see his nomination helping Trump?
Yeah, I think it certainly will. J.D. Vance is a very interesting character. In the past, he said that anyone voting for Trump was basically an idiot. He even called Trump America's Hitler. He was a staunch critic of him, and now there he is as his running mate. I think giving much to the campaign that Donald Trump was clearly looking for someone of a youthful appearance, but also with that youth vote on his side. He's only 39 years old. He's only been a senator for 2 years, but he brings with him that youth, even if he doesn't bring with him experience. Donald Trump clearly showing that this is the type of person he wants to hand the mantle of responsibility over to be the face, the next generation of the Republican Party. It's interesting to note as well, he is married to a woman whose parents are of Indian descent. And I think in that respect, there is a nod to the fact Donald Trump knows he struggles with some minority groups across America. This might help him to cement some voters who are on the fence, who perhaps might look at him with renewed light, being able to see potentially diversity within the Trump party. However, Democrats have lambasted this choice of J.D. Vance as the vice presidential pick. We heard from Biden's campaign earlier calling Vance a far-right MAGA extremist. I mean, he certainly has views on the right of Donald Trump. They also say that Vance is a 2020 election denier. He supports a national abortion ban and voted against IVF access. Democrats time to capitalize on this and say to their voters this is someone that should not be running the country, and trying to turn it back towards them, urging voters to vote for them off the back of that pick by Donald Trump for his vice president.
All right. Also, meanwhile, if you talk about President Biden, how he defended himself in an interview against criticisms over his rhetoric about Trump, and said it was a mistake to say it was time to put Trump in a bull's eye. What do you have to say about Biden's softening stance now?
Yeah, a tricky moment for Joe Biden and his campaign, because there was a comment from him a couple of months ago in which he said Donald Trump should be put in a bullseye. Off the back of that attempted assassination, Republicans pointed to that comment and other language from the Democrats, saying it was the Democrats' fault that Trump was targeted at the rally. Joe Biden had to defend himself during that interview. He tried to explain it by saying he didn't mean a bullseye as in crosshairs or a target, but rather it all being about making Donald Trump the focus of everything that Democrats now do, focusing in on his policies and his past comments. But it is rather tricky for the Democrats to walk that fine line of continuing to campaign and to go after Donald Trump, but knowing that their every move, their every word will be under scrutiny, because there is that renewed pressure on rhetoric in terms of political discourse at this time, and in really trying to hone in on every single word that the president might utter after that attempted assassination. Bear in mind that that interview originally was scheduled to try and reassure Democrat voters that he still had what it takes for this re-election bid after all the fears within the Democratic Party that perhaps he's just too old. It ended up being an interview about other things. He spoke about his age, saying that he still had good mental acuity, but he also now had to defend himself off the back of that attempted assassination, because there is that focus now on what Democrats are saying and whether there's any language that could be inflammatory or could be inciting violence.
All right. Thank you so much, Nick, for all that update from there.